This story came from someone named Alex. They said moving into that house felt like a fresh start. 4 roommates, cheap rent, nothing weird. Except for one door, always closed. No one claimed it. And one night it opened. What Alex found behind it didn't make sense, and what came after made even less. I moved into the house in October, 5 bedrooms, 4 people. I was the last to arrive. The rent was cheap, the location decent, and everyone seemed normal enough. Quiet, young, mostly working professionals. I didn't ask many questions, I just needed a place fast. The layout was simple. 2 bedrooms downstairs, 3 up. Kitchen, living room, 1 main hallway. The room at the very end of that hallway was always closed. I assumed it was storage. Everyone did. It was never mentioned during the tour. I didn't think twice about it. But something about that door stuck in my head. It looked off, like it had been painted too many times, warping the shape of the frame. The handle had scratches around it, deep ones. I noticed them when I moved in. I still didn't ask. Weeks went by. I settled in. It wasn't until mid-November that I noticed the light. I was heading to the kitchen one night and saw it, under the door. A pale glow spilling onto the floor. I froze. It was late. No one had said anything about the storage room being used. I thought maybe someone was staying in there temporarily. I knocked. No answer. I tried the knob. Locked. The next morning, I brought it up casually over breakfast. "Hey, do we use that end room for anything? The one at the end of the hall?" They all gave me blank looks. Jenna, the girl who'd lived there longest, said, "There's no room down there." I laughed. "No, seriously. The one across from the bathroom?" She looked genuinely confused. "There's a wall there." That night, I took a photo. I sent it to my own email, just to be safe. The door was there, faded green paint, brass knob, scratched and worn, still closed, still locked. A week later, it was open. I swear I didn't hear anything. No footsteps, no creak of hinges. It was just open. I stood in the hallway for a long time before I walked in. There was a bed, old, low to the ground. Sheets rumpled, clothes on the floor, men's clothes. A phone was charging on the nightstand, still warm when I touched it. No one was inside. I walked straight to Jenna's room and knocked. "I just went into the back room," I said. "There's stuff in there. Someone's staying there." She blinked at me. "What room?" I turned, pointed. But when I looked again, the door was closed. And it looked older than before, more warped, like it had been sealed shut years ago. I didn't sleep much after that night. The door was still there in the morning, closed, untouched, but something was different. The photo I'd taken, it was still in my email, but when I opened it, the file was corrupted. Just static, like an old TV screen. The thumbnail still showed the door, clear as day, but the image itself wouldn't load. I asked my roommates again, same answers. "There's no room there. You mean the laundry closet?" "You okay, man?" Jenna pulled out her phone, opened the Zillow listing we'd all used when applying for the house. She scrolled through the floor plan. No 5th room. But I remembered the bed, the clothes, the warm phone. I started writing things down, anything I could recall. The color of the comforter, the scratches on the doorframe, the buzzing hum of the charger. I didn't know what I was trying to prove. I just knew something was wrong. 2 nights later, I woke up to the sound of someone walking down the hallway. Slow, uneven. I sat up, opened my door just a crack. The door at the end of the hallway was open again. This time, there was light, but not from a lamp. It was bluish, flickering. Almost like firelight, but cold, wrong. I grabbed my phone, stepped into the hallway and took another photo. Then the light cut out. The next morning, the door was gone. Not just closed, gone. Where it used to be was now solid drywall, seamless, like it had never been there at all. I ran back to my room and opened the photo I'd taken. The hallway was empty, the wall was already there. But I saw the door. I remember the light. I stood there shaking for a while, trying to convince myself I hadn't imagined it. But then I noticed something buried deep in my phone gallery. A photo from that first night. The one I thought was corrupted. It loaded perfectly. And this time, there was something new in it. A shadow, barely visible, in the crack of the door. Watching, I finally dug into the history of the house. Had to go to the city archive office. Told them I was researching for a class. The property record showed something weird. There had been a fifth bedroom. Before 2004, before the fire. I sat with that for a long time. There wasn't much on the incident, just a clipped newspaper scan from 20 years ago. Fire in the back bedroom. No injuries. One tenant evicted. The article mentioned his name. I won't repeat it here. But it mentioned what they found in the room after he was gone. Hidden holes in the walls, lighter fluid. Photos of other tenants taken while they slept. The worst part? There's no reason a phone should have been charging in that room. That room burned in 2004. There were no smartphones then, no wireless chargers, no buzzing little light on the nightstand. But I saw them, and sometimes, late at night, when I walk past where the door used to be, I hear a soft buzz, like something charging, waiting. This came from someone who's currently serving time. They said they're not guilty. They said the real thief is out there, wearing their name, living their life, and the worst part, everyone believes the imposter. This is the story they wanted told. Before they forget who they were. It started small. A message notification from someone I didn't recognize. No profile picture, just, "Hey, can I still swing by around 7? I thought it was a wrong number. I replied, "Who is this?" The chat disappeared, not archived, not deleted, gone. The next day, another one came in. "Your kitchen's cute now. Love the new tile." It came with a photo of my kitchen, except I hadn't changed anything. The photo showed it with white tile. Mine was brown. Still is. I looked around, then back at the screen. The message was gone. I chalked it up to a glitch. Maybe some weird data sync. I even reset my phone. But the messages kept coming. Different people. Always friendly. They knew my name, where I worked, the layout of my place. One message said, "You were right. This job's way easier than you made it seem." Another one, "I'll tell your mom you're doing fine. I think she's starting to forget your voice." That one stopped me cold. My mom has early dementia. I never post about her. So who knew? I started screenshotting everything, every weird text, every number. But by the time I checked again, they were blank. Then one night I got a message that didn't disappear. It was a photo. Me, sleeping. Taken from just a few feet away. I checked the file info. It had been taken with my phone camera. I called the police. Filed a report. I thought it was a stalker. Identity theft. Maybe someone cloned my phone. I gave them everything I had. What little hadn't vanished. They said they'd look into it. A few days later, I was called back into the station. They told me someone had filed a fraud report using my name. Said I had stolen their identity. I laughed. I said, "You can't steal what's already yours." They didn't laugh. Then came the kicker. They showed me the text, my messages, my phone, sent to someone else, asking for access to accounts, for wire transfers, for passwords, photos of me, yes, but older ones. Some even edited, ones I didn't take. They said the digital trail pointed straight to me. My bank account was frozen. My landlord got suspicious. My friends stopped responding. And then, finally, I was arrested. They processed me like I was some kind of seasoned scammer. Took my phone, my laptop, even my old hard drives, said I'd been running a long game, that I'd used deepfake photos and spoofed accounts. I told them to check the timestamps. I told them to check the metadata. I told them none of it made sense. They said that's exactly what guilty people say. I asked for a lawyer, but even the lawyer looked at me sideways. "You don't seem to grasp how much evidence there is," he said. "I'm telling you," I said, "someone is me." He leaned back. "You ever heard of dissociative identity disorder?" They didn't believe a word. They called in witnesses, friends, people I've known for years. Each one walked in, took the stand, and said the same thing. "That's not who I know. They're pretending. The real one's out there. I just saw them last week." Jenna, my best friend since college, testified she'd had coffee with me 2 days earlier, at a cafe I'd never been to. She even showed them a selfie. It looked like me, smiling, holding her hand. I lost everything after that. No job, no apartment. My lease was quietly taken over by the real tenant. They showed the updated contract. Same name, different signature, and no one questioned it. Now I sit in a holding cell, waiting for an appeal, waiting for someone, anyone, to remember who I actually am. But there's no one left. The phone calls go unanswered. Letters get returned. Online searches show my face, but with their name attached. I still remember who I was, but I'm starting to forget what it felt like to live it. And sometimes, late at night, when the cell block goes quiet, my bunkmate's phone buzzes. He says it's spam, but once I glanced over and saw the preview. It said, he still thinks he's me. LOL, and then it disappeared. I don't even know how to start this. It's not my story, really. It's about my best friend, Drew. He's the one it happened to. At least, I think it was him, because after everything that went down, I'm still not sure which version of him I knew. It started with an email. He forwarded it to me with the subject line, "Did I do this?" It was a job interview confirmation, sales rep position, company I'd never heard of, address downtown. It looked legit. Had his name, phone number, resume attached and everything. Except, Drew already had a job. He worked remote in IT, lived in hoodies, didn't even own a blazer. I asked him if he'd applied. He said no. Swore up and down he hadn't touched a job board in years. We chalked it up to phishing, spam, whatever, until it happened again. 2 days later, someone showed up at his apartment. Said they were there for a second-round interview, for a job Drew had never heard of. He called me, laughing nervously, said the guy had a portfolio and everything, said Drew had told him to meet at his place, that it was a startup thing. The guy left confused. Told Drew to call him when he figured it out. That's when I stopped laughing. I went over that night, looked through his laptop, his email, everything. Nothing suspicious, no sent messages, no logins from weird IPs. Then I opened his desk drawer. There were 3 printed lease agreements, different apartments, different cities, each signed in his handwriting. And on the floor, beneath the drawer, was a receipt for a storage unit rental in a town he swore he'd never visited. Drew looked pale, like he'd seen his reflection blink before he did. "I'm not doing this," he said. "Am I?" I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure anymore. I told Drew to take a few days off work, clear his head, reset, but I didn't go home. I stayed. Because something about this wasn't just stress or burnout. I've seen that before. This was different. This was like watching someone glitch in real time. That night, Drew passed out on the couch around midnight. Around 2:15 a.m., I woke up to the sound of typing. I walked into the next room. Drew was at his desk, awake, focused, filling out a job application online. His eyes didn't even register me. "Hey," I whispered, "what are you doing?" No answer. He clicked submit, stood up, walked into his room, and laid back down. Next morning, he didn't remember a thing. Over the next week, I started keeping track. Every night between 1 and 3 a.m., Drew would wake up. But it wasn't him, not really. He'd apply for jobs, sign leases, order books about subjects he never mentioned while awake: psychology, architecture, firearms. Once, he booked a rental car. I asked him about it the next day. He didn't even know his driver's license number. I decided to follow him. One night, around 2:40 a.m., he got up, grabbed his jacket, and walked out the door. I tailed him across town. He didn't take his phone, didn't speak, just moved with purpose. He walked into a 24-hour coffee shop, sat in a corner, and waited. At 3:17 a.m., a man walked in, shook the Drew's hand, and sat down. They talked, laughed, wrote things down. I recorded the whole thing. Next morning, I played it for Drew. He stared at the screen like it was someone else, like he was watching a stranger with his face. That's when he told me the dream. Or maybe it wasn't a dream. He said he kept seeing another life. One where he worked a different job, lived in a different apartment, had a different name. Said it felt normal, said it felt more real than this one. I told him we had to go to the police, that something was wrong. That's when they told us. A report had already been filed. Against Drew, forgery, fraud, false documentation. They had paperwork, photos, his signature. They asked me to leave the room. I watched them cuff my best friend. He didn't fight it, just looked at me and said, "I think I'm the copy." That was 3 months ago. I visit when I can. Some days he's clear. He remembers me, remembers everything. Other days, he just stares at the wall and asks why I'm calling him Drew. There are still nights when I get emails from his old address, job applications, storage rental receipts, even a contract for a new identity, signed in his name, but I don't think he's the one sending them anymore. And honestly, I don't think I ever knew which version of him I met first.